What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back here with the title today. I am discussing every team's most overpaid player going into the 25-26 NBA season. Be straightforward, went down the contract table on Basketball Reference, and picked out one player from every team who I believe is overpaid. Some of them more than others. Some of them it's just because I needed a filler. Some of them are genuinely the most overpaid players in basketball. Don't forget to like, subscribe, simple stuff. 67 subs, get to 70, be pretty cool. We're going to be going from seeding wise, so I'm going to go 1 to 15, and then we're going to start in the East and then go to the West. For the 1-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, I have Darius Garland, and I know that might not be a favorite one. He's an all-star 100%. But I can see them moving him in the near future. I'm not too keen on his abilities in a playoff setting either. His iffy jump shooting at times, him just being a very bad individual defender, it's kind of hampered the team a little bit. Durability concerns have also popped up. His toe injury in the playoffs, that hurt him. He hasn't been very durable during his NBA career. In terms of on-off numbers, it shows that per 100 possessions, the defense is 5 points worse with Darius Garland on the floor. I believe that's kind of expected, though. He's a smaller guard who doesn't have a ton of weight on him. He's not really big. Struggles against guards. Like, he struggles to guard guards. In his playoff career, he is averaging 17 points, 5.5 assists, and 1 steal on 43, 34, 85 splits. Not great. Not really bad either, but he does have a total of a minus 107 in terms of plus minus in his playoff career. He's at times teams have, specifically Kyle Anderson, I believe it was, specifically said that the Cavs look better just without him on the floor. Whether you agree or disagree, it's a different story, but it does seem that the Cavs are looking to potentially move him this offseason. Makes sense. Let's see where he ends up. He's not a bad player. Like I said, he's an all-star for sure, but he's kind of getting paid all-NBA money when I don't think that's what he really is. For the Boston Celtics, pretty simple, Jrue Holiday. He's making $32.5 million at 35 years of age. Yes, he was kind of integral in winning that championship last season for the Boston Celtics. He put up basically career lows across the entire board, sub-career normal shooting percentages. He's still a commodity if a team needs veteran leadership or something of the sort like that, maybe perimeter defender. But by age 37, he'll be making $37 million. That's quite a lot of money to be dedicated to that guy. Plus, he also struggled on the corner three this year, which was his bread and butter in his first season in Boston. Once again, Jrue Holiday is not a bad basketball player, just like Darius Garland is not a bad basketball player. However, $32.5 million to $37 million for a guy who's in his mid-30s definitely isn't the best deal in the world. Shout out to Jrue Holiday, though, two-time NBA champion, two-time All-Star, I believe, as well. Very impressive player, very impressive career. Just down the stretch, he's kind of getting paid more than I would think and more than I think he's worth. For the Knicks, hot take, Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns is on payroll for $53 million next season. He's going to be paid as a top 15 player in basketball. And yes, technically he was a top 15 player in basketball this year, as I believe he made an All-NBA team. He's still awful on one side of the basketball. That's kind of huge. Of course, after the playoffs ended not too long ago, reports that Knicks players and staff were kind of frustrated with Towns' defense. He wasn't coming up on screens very well. Halliburton was killing him in the pick and roll game. He just couldn't really keep up with that offense. And of course, his teammates grew frustrated with that, and same with the coaches. They kind of tried to beat it into him that, hey, this defense stuff comes first, and they still didn't really get that. He commits bad fouls, like some of the worst you'll ever see in terms of fouls, reaching in the backcourt, loose ball fouls. I mentioned it in my last video, but he has really, really bad fouls. He's also on tap to make $61 million in 27-28. Oh, come on now, $61 million for a guy who's a fringe top 4 center in the league. I mean, you got to think Jokic is better than him healthy, Embiid's better than him healthy. And then from there, it's kind of a toss-up, I would say. You could argue like AD is better than him, Wemby is better than him. Maybe there's somebody else I'm forgetting, but Karl-Anthony Towns getting paid $61 million, and he only plays one side of the ball. Sure, he had a career year this year in terms of rebounding and total points, I believe. But at the end of the day, we all knew, and I think we all know, that in order for this Knicks team to reach the next step, you can't have your best 2 players being defensive liabilities. Cat also averaged 4 fouls per game in these playoffs. Simply put, like I said, inexcusable, over 4 fouls a game. He struggled offensively, but I also blame that on the fact that he isn't on the court all that often because he is addicted to bad fouls. So it's very tough to win a game when, A, your best player can't really play that much because, well, your second best player, because he's fouling all the time, And even when he is in the game, he's a bad defender as well, struggles in pick and roll coverage and communication. So it's going to be Karl-Anthony Towns here. For the Indiana Pacers, your finals representative for the Eastern Conference, it is TJ McConnell. They don't have many bad contracts. Halliburton's not a bad deal. Siakam's on a really pretty good deal, in my opinion. Miles Turner's a free agent after this year. Aaron Nesmith is making $11 million, and he's won them a playoff game, or actually a few in these playoffs, I'd say. Was a really good defender on Brunson. So it's going to be TJ McConnell, even though I really do like TJ McConnell. Not making mega money, only $11 million, but these playoffs haven't really been kind for TJ. His time of really playing over 20 minutes per game, kind of out of the window. He struggles with jump shooting. We know that. He's never really been a three-point jump shooter, but teams are starting to just put centers on him and letting it ride like that. I like the little play he does where he sprints along the baseline and tries to hunt for any kick-out shooter like that. TJ McConnell's a fun player, don't get me wrong, but he's not a 20-minute-per-game guy. The Pacers just aren't really paying anyone a bad deal. Obi Toppin's been integral for them in these playoffs as well. Wouldn't feel right choosing any of the guys who played big parts when TJ McConnell has not really been a big part of the reason why they've been so good in these playoffs. For the Milwaukee Bucks, it's Kyle Kuzma, not even close. The guy had a playoff game where he put up zeros across the board except for, I believe, 2 personal fouls. Absolutely inexcusable for your third guy on the roster. I'm just going to call him a third guy because he's the farthest thing from a star. In the 5-game series against Indiana, he shot 34 from the field, 20 from 3, and 50 from the line. Absolutely horrible. I believe their GM's name is John Horst. He should be shot out of a cannon for that trade. He traded Chris Middleton and A.J. Johnson for nothing, essentially, especially if he's just logging bagels on the stat sheet. Kuzma will be going into next season getting paid over $20 million. He will be the 3rd highest paid player on the roster, barring a Brook Lopez extension. Don't know if that's going to happen or when that's going to happen, but Kuzma cannot shoot, is not a great defender, and has blown countless layups that I've seen. Kyle Kuzma, just not worth the money. Up next, we have the Detroit Pistons. Pistons haven't really paid anybody similar to the Pacers. Like Cade Cunningham's not on a bad deal. Dennis Schroeder's an expiring. He's going after this year. Same with Tim Hardaway Jr. So I chose Isaiah Stewart. Again, Isaiah Stewart's a really decent player, a good backup 5-man, brings the physicality that the Pistons really like. I assume he would have done a really good job on Karl-Anthony Towns in these playoffs if he wasn't hurt. This could have very well been argued to be Tobias Harris, but I saw Tobias Harris play a pretty good series against the Knicks. He guarded Karl-Anthony Towns relatively well. He made the shots that he needed to make. He was basically their second best shot creator behind Cade Cunningham in these playoffs. Dennis Schroeder was all right too, but Tobias was pretty good. But really, Isaiah Stewart didn't play much in these playoffs, so I kind of have to say that Isaiah Stewart's the bad contract here when it's not that bad. $15 million for a backup 5-man isn't that bad, especially when he sometimes plays more minutes than Duren. There's nights where he's just better than Jalen Duren, so I like the versatility with their 5-man spot. Again, like I said, sometimes these picks are just, you need to pick a guy, but this is not an egregious overpay. This is relatively respectable. For the Orlando Magic, it is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with no questions asked. He's getting paid $21 million next season. He shot the lowest 3-point percentage since 2018-2019 for him. His lowest point per game mark since his rookie year. That's over a decade ago, I believe, at this point. He's still a plus defender, but not impactful enough to be the 3rd highest paid player on the team next year, especially when Paolo still hasn't even got paid yet. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this Magic cap space kind of looks like in the next few years when you have KCP on $21 million looking just not good. Even in the playoffs, KCP wasn't good either. Like, I think there was a stretch where he was like 0 for 15 or whatever in these games. He looked awful. Even in the playoffs, the Celtics were daring him to shoot, and he was missing all of them, really. He had one good game, I'd say, shooting-wise. And again, while he is a good defender, half of his value is still 3 and D. If you can't provide 1, sorry, you don't deserve to get paid $21 million. For the Atlanta Hawks, it's Terrence Mann. That deal isn't the Atlanta Hawks' fault. They did not sign Terrence Mann to that deal, but they did eat it in the Bogdanovich trade. It's still a bad contract, however. T-Man showed some signs of actually maybe waking up and turning a new leaf in Atlanta. He shot 48.5% from 3 and over 50% from the field. Those are not sustainable splits. There's no chance in hell Terrence Mann shoots 48.5% from 3 next year, and if he does, I will come back on camera and I will eat this mouse. Maybe you can turn a new leaf. Maybe not. I'm sure the Hawks don't really mind. They got a pick for Bogey. That's kind of what they were looking for in it, and they just absolved the Terrence Mann deal. It is what it is. They didn't sign him. Not really their fault. For the Chicago Bulls, you can argue for Zach Collins, but I'd also say he has just next year on his deal left. Maybe one of the worst contracts in the league right now is Patrick Williams. Yes, you could say it's only $18 million, but it's $18 million until 28-29 for a guy who basically is unplayable. He's useless on both ends of the floor. Doesn't defend very well, commits a lot of traveling violations. He travels maybe more than most other players do. Absolute bust at 4th overall. He doesn't play. Modest Bazelis took his minutes. Dalen Terry took his minutes. Everyone they bring in really takes Patrick Williams' minutes, and they extended him for no reason. There was no real reason to give him $18 million. They could have let him see what his worth was on the open market. Instead, they just gave him $18 million. Really, really bad deal for the Bulls. He also shot 39, 35, 72 splits. That's really less than impressive. 35% from 3 is okay. But again, he does nothing really on the court well. I can't think of a single attribute Patrick Williams has that is considered a plus. For the Miami Heat, you could argue it's Duncan Robinson, but his contract amount is not fully guaranteed. So that pushes me to Terry Rozier. I feel really bad for Scary Terry. I'm a Celtics fan, and the best part of his career probably was with the Celtics. There was stretches where he looked okay off the bench. Okay is the best way to phrase it. But he's getting paid $26 million next season, and he shot 39% from the field, 29.5% from 3, and 82% from the line. Somehow worse splits than Patrick Williams. He looked lost out there, traveling violations. There was a clip where I'm pretty sure he just passed it to the other team. I don't know what was going on. The gambling thing hit him. I don't know. Last year was maybe one of the worst seasons I've seen out of an NBA player from Terry Rozier, ever, on an over $20 million deal. Maybe he can make a comeback coming off the bench next year, but I'm not even sure if he's going to get PT depending on what the Heat draft and what they do in the offseason. Should be really interesting to see, especially with his youth movement coming in Miami, and Terry Rozier just does not fit that at all. For the Toronto Raptors, I have Immanuel Quickley. Immanuel Quickley is a good NBA player, but if I told you he's getting paid $32 million, you might look at it a little bit differently. He's making more than Jamal Murray, DeJounte Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, and even Drew Holiday. If I call Drew Holiday overpaid, he's a 2-time champion and one of the best leaders and one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. What do you think I'm going to say about Immanuel Quickley? A guy who is just a shot creator, not a great passer, definitely not a good defender. His size is very not good. $32 million is just way too much money for Immanuel Quickley, and I don't know why they gave that to him. I don't think they matched an offer. I remember he was a restricted free agent. I think they might just gave him that deal. Raptors fans, talk to me down below about why did they pay Immanuel Quickley $32 million? Feels very excessive. For the Brooklyn Nets, I have Nicholas Claxton. Clax is not a bad NBA player, but it's just one of those teams where you got to pick somebody. And the only two guys making over $20 million was Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson. I'm taking Cam Johnson over Nick Claxton every day if I'm starting a team, I guess. Clax's a good finisher, good rim finisher. He blocks a bunch of shots too, but it's a bad overpay, $25 million. It's not really that bad, though. I can kind of rationalize it. If he was on a contending team, he looked really good when they had Harden and Durant and Kyrie. But without those guys, it kind of makes no sense to have him when you don't have a point guard who can throw him those lobs. When he's out there with, was it Reese Beekman? What the hell is he supposed to do? They got him running the 2-man game with Killian Hayes. I mean, there's just no way you can recoup the value on this deal. You just kind of had to pay somebody, I guess was why they did it. And Nick Claxton is not a bad player, but again, on a really bad team like this Nets team is, he kind of serves no purpose, and sometimes Day'Ron Sharpe is just better. For the Philadelphia 76ers, you blow my mind. Layup, it's Paul George. It's not even close. $52 million next season. He didn't stay healthy. He shot bad from the field. He looked old. For the first time in his career, Paul George just looked old. Sixers fans are praying it was just a slow start to this deal and that he can pop it up and be good next year. But year one of this deal looked very, very bad for Podcast P. He had I'm gonna almost say a career worst season since, what was his second year in LA, 21-22, where he looked really bad with the Clips. But either way, Paul George looked really bad. He's making over $50 million again next year. Really, really bad. And I floated this idea out there. 76ers fans, let me know. But you have, number 2, number 3 pick or whatever. Would you try to attach that to Paul George just to move off the deal? I don't know. Maybe a lot of Sixers fans think there is something left in the tank for PG. I don't know. I really want to have a dialogue with 76ers fans on this one, so comment down below. For the Charlotte Hornets, this is just another instance of a team taking on a bad deal to get draft compensation. This is Jusuf Nurkic. They didn't pay Jusuf Nurkic. I believe it was Portland that did. But they got a first-round pick, believe it or not, with 4 separate swap rights in 2026. 4 different teams have a right to swap for this pick in 2026. That's absolutely nuts to think about. But they potentially get a first, or if it doesn't convey, I believe a second-round pick just to take on 1 year, $19 million worth of useless Nurkic. Yeah, that doesn't really hurt anybody. I want to call him useless Nurkic. I'm very close to it. He is very bad. But it's the Hornets. They don't expect to win, so whatever. Last and certainly least, it's the Washington Wizards. Another one where they just got pick equity for an aging guy on a big contract. It's Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton signed this deal with the Bucks. Not really his fault. I believe he's getting paid over $30 million next year, and he got traded for aforementioned Kyle Kuzma. Wiz did get a decent pick out of this, plus they got AJ Johnson, I believe. So as for now, I would say the Wizards pretty easily won this deal, and I actually can't remember if they got a first-round pick or not in this deal, but even if they didn't, they got basically a first-round pick in AJ Johnson, who was a 21st pick and who had some okay run with the Wizards this year. Didn't shoot it efficiently, but it was only on limited sample. He got there late in the season. So AJ Johnson looked pretty good. It looks like a good deal for the Wizards so far. Yeah, Middleton's getting $33 million next year. Not a big deal. You're the Wizards. You weren't expecting to win anyways. All right, now we can make the jump over to the Western Conference. We start, again, 1 through 15. So the Thunder are here to start. I'm going to go with Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe's a decent player. He had a solid regular season. Shot it well from 3 once again. But he is playing only 10.5 minutes per game in these playoffs. He struggles on defense because of his size. And in order to be playable, he kind of needs his threes to go down. If his threes aren't going down, he really can't be on the court. However, $12 million is not a lot of money, so I'm not going to sit here and act like it's some really bad deal. You could argue maybe Hartenstein is integral to this team, so I doubt anyone would argue that's a bad deal. Lou Dort's getting paid $17 to $18 million, but again, he's their best or second best perimeter defender, depending on how you feel about Caruso. It feels like Dort's contract is necessary. Shea's is obvious. Hartenstein's is obvious. The real odd man out is Isaiah Joe making $12 million. It's not a ton of money, but again, it's just a sharpshooter. He's making around the same ballpark money as like Sam Hauser, so it kind of fits. For the Houston Rockets, is this really even a discussion? It's Jalen Green. He's getting paid $33 to $36 million during the length of this contract. I believe that's the next 2 or 3 years. He was terrible in the playoffs. He averaged 13 points per game. 3 assists, 5 rebounds, these shooting splits, oh my god. 37 from the field, 29.5% from 3, and then 66 from the line. The 13 points per game is also inflated too. He had a 38-point game in like game 2 or 3. If you erase that 38-point game he had, which was the anomaly for a 7-game series, he only scored over 15, I believe, just at one time in a 7-game series. You erase that, suddenly he averaged 9 points per game and shot 13 shots per game. He looked sorry in these playoffs. He called out Draymond Green for what he doesn't do anything on offense. Neither do you. Neither do you, Jalen. I was a very big Jalen Green supporter this season, but again, he made me look foolish for like the 3rd year in a row. So I might be out. For the Lakers, it's Gabe Vincent. His tenure with the Lakers hasn't really been a successful one from the beginning. He missed basically his whole first season on the deal. 11 games played last year. It's not really a lot. This season was a little bit better. He played about 21 minutes per game, averaged 6 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, shot 40, 35, 71 splits. Not bad, not great. Well, 40 from the field's pretty damn bad, actually. But they didn't sign him for regular season numbers. They signed him because he's a playoff riser, they all told me. His Lakers playoff numbers are bad. 10 games, 17 minutes per game, 2 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound on 31, 25, and he hasn't attempted a free throw. $11 million is off the books next season, so they may look to trade him. But, again, I was told he was a playoff performer. He's got that dog in him. I feel like I was going crazy when I kept telling people that Gabe Vincent is not like that. And it feels like suddenly people are seeing that with the Lakers. It's just too late. For the Nuggets, it's Mike Porter Jr., man. We know who MPJ is. He's a streaky shooter, bad defender, okay rebounder with good size. Obviously, no vision. His nickname is what? Don't swing the rock or whatever. The ball stops here. It's one of the better nicknames I've heard. He's not a bad player, though. MPJ is not a bad player, but he is pretty injury-prone, I'd say. He gets injured quite a little bit. He got hurt in these playoffs. Of course, he hurt his shoulder. He said he couldn't lift it over his head, so it'd be unfair to use playoff numbers against him. However, $38 million for a sharpshooter is still a lot of money. And Mike is a sharpshooter, 39% from three. I don't think he's ever shot worse than like 38% from three. So he knocks down his threes at a high rate. But again, he's still a bad defender, and he's very in and out, very streaky. In my opinion, I think there's a pretty decent chance that MPJ gets moved in the offseason, but that's just my thoughts. I don't know, Nuggets fans, talk to me down below. For the Clippers, this one's tough. I really wanted to go hot take and say Kawhi Leonard because he doesn't play a ton. Kawhi only played like 30 games this year, 40 if you count the playoffs, I believe. But Kawhi's still really good when he does play, and his playoff numbers were still elite. So I guess I'm going to go with Bogey Bogdanovic. Bogey's not a bad player, good bench scorer, good spark scorer off the bench. He shot really well with the Clippers too from the field. He'll be going into his age 33 season, making $16 million. It's not a horrible deal, not the best either. Bogey's a solid player, can score in bunches, but at the same time, that's about all his value is scoring in bunches. Timberwolves, it's Rudy Gobert. I love Rudy to death. He provides rim deterrence that they don't really have without him, but sometimes we can all accept that Rudy Gobert is just unplayable. He had a really good game against the Lakers. The closeout game was at 6 or 5, whatever. But otherwise than that, Rudy in the Warriors series was okay. Rudy in the OKC series was okay. I don't know, $35 million for Gobert isn't ideal, especially when Nas's contract is up soon. Julius Randle's contract is up this year, I believe. And Rudy's your second highest paid player. There's an issue there. Where's the money going to go between Randle and Nas when you're paying Rudy $35 million? Really tough to build a team around Rudy Gobert when he's making that much money and has a very limited skill set outside of just rim defense. For the Warriors, it's Moses Moody. He was supposed to be a key member of this team, in my opinion. I thought he was going to be like a 25-minute per game guy for them this year. Really didn't happen. He averaged 7 points, 1 assist, and 2 rebounds in these playoffs on 35, 33, 82 splits. For a while, I thought Moses Moody was a very good defender. And then I watched him in these playoffs, and I realized, wow, he doesn't really have a ton of size. He's not the bulkiest guy out there. Kind of does struggle with defense, even though he is a 6'6" type of guy. He's really not a bad player, but I'd expect him to get moved at some point. He's one of those young guys with the Warriors that I keep thinking is just going to break through, like him and Kuminga and Quentin Post even, that I keep thinking is just going to break through, but somehow their development always ends up stunted. I don't know. Moses Moody just hasn't looked right in a little while now. And I feel like him on a different team with more opportunity, it might work out, but I don't know. Memphis Grizzlies, here's my hot take. It's Desmond Bane. $36 million for D. Bane. I don't think I'd be willing to pay that. He is by far the most durable player on this team. Ja Morant struggles with health, and Jaren Jackson missed time as well. Desmond Bane really doesn't miss a ton of time. He's a fringe all-star. He's getting paid more than Triple J, which I don't know if I agree with. I'd think Jaren is more impactful. I don't know. That's debatable, though. In these playoffs in their series against Oklahoma City, he shot 32% from the field, 22 from 3, 90 from the line on 15 points per game. Almost at 50 points per game. That'd be nuts. Relatively unimpressive numbers, and he's the second highest paid player on this team. I don't believe the core of this team is really good enough to make noise, win a finals type of thing. So Desmond Bane being paid that much really doesn't help this team down the line. You could argue it's Brandon Clark, but I like Brandon Clark's size. He plays that small ball 5. And that floater is just money in the lane. But if you watch the playoffs, you saw Desmond Bane kind of look not good against the Caruso-Dort defense. I get it. Caruso and Dort have made people look even worse than this. But Desmond Bane just did not look very good at all. There was, at times, too much Desmond Bane, in my opinion. For the Kings, this one is so easy. Zack LaVine is making $47.5 million in 2025-26. Here's some guys that Zack LaVine is being paid more than. Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, Evan Mobley, Trae Young, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving, Ja Morant, Pascal Siakam, and Cade Cunningham. I'd say everyone on that list is better than him. I have Cade over LaVine. I have Pascal over LaVine. I have Ja over LaVine. I have Kyrie over LaVine. I'm taking Halliburton, Ant-Man, Trae Young, Mobley, Luka, and Donovan Mitchell all over Zack LaVine. LaVine's not a bad player. He's a very streaky scorer. He can get hot, give you a 40 like that. We've seen that before, but $47.5 million is ridiculous money. Absolutely abysmal contract for, dare I say, an abysmal franchise. The front office of the Kings has been very inept for some years now. For the Dallas Mavericks, they took on Caleb Martin's deal for absolutely no reason. It's only $9 million, but you traded Quentin Grimes for him, who ends up becoming maybe the 76ers' best player down the stretch last year. They also traded a second-round pick to bring him in. I don't know, man. If they redid that trade, Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin, I think the value of Caleb and Quentin is kind of similar enough where I don't think a second-round pick is even needed to be thrown in. I know it's only a second, but a pick is a pick. And they traded for a wing, knowing that they have Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Omax Prosper, and Brandon Williams to fill those wing spots. Brandon Williams just looked really good down the stretch at the end of the year. Najee Marshall looked really good down the stretch at the end of the year. And Klay Thompson had some really good games for them too, shot over 39% from three. So I think Caleb Martin's just the odd man out, and he's getting paid $39 million, or he's getting paid $9 million over the next, I think, 4 years. It's just not ideal. I just don't like that contract, and they took it on for no reason. They gave away Quentin Grimes for no reason. The Suns, this is maybe the worst contract in NBA history. It's Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, bad deal. Bradley Beal instead of real deal, bad deal. Bradley Beal. I don't know. At least he has his no trade clause. He never fit in with this team. The trade never made sense to begin with. He's not a great defender. He said he wants to be like a better 3-and-D guy like he was back with the Wizards. That didn't happen at all. They can't even move him because he has that no trade clause, so it's really tough, and they traded pick equity for him. This is what you call an albatross. Like, this is an albatross wrapped around the Suns' neck, and there's nothing they can do about it. Just an all-time bad deal, and the fact that the Wizards were able to move him is just impressive to me. I don't know. I guess because of the no trade clause, but a team willing to take that deal on, it's just embarrassingly bad for the Suns. And we have to admit soon enough that Matt Ishbia simply should just butt out from team involvement and just pay the check. Because some of the moves that have happened over the Ishbia era have been all-time bad for the Suns. Next up, Portland Trail Blazers. They paid Jeremy Grant for no reason. He's getting paid $32 million, then $34 million, then $36 million, and he shot 37, 36, 85. He basically shot his contract number in terms of field goal percentage, and don't even add the million, just keep just the percentage and just the 32, 34, 36. You go look at his plus-minus and his on-off numbers, you'd see the offense drops over 6 points per 100 possessions with Grant on the floor. He had basically a career worst season as him being like a real everyday player, not in the tanking Philly years where he was just getting spot minutes and he was, young coming out of Syracuse, but he just looked bad last year. A career low year after getting the bag is quite a finesse, if I'm being honest with you. DeAndre Ayton's a close second, but his contract is up after the 25-26 season, so it's okay in my opinion, and I think he's going to get paid way less, hopefully, for Blazers fans' sake. But Jeremy Grant getting the bag and then just disappearing, that's definitely not ideal. They paid him because I don't know why they paid him, because they paid him before they traded Dame, and none of it made sense. It was basically like Dame got Jeremy paid and then dipped. Really messed up move from Dame, but at least he had his guy paid. For the Spurs, this is another young team that doesn't have many bad contracts. I would have to go with Keldon Johnson, though. Keldon Johnson shot a career low 31.9% from three. That's very bad. He comes off the bench now. I thought he was a good defender for a while, but it doesn't appear he's a good defender in terms of on-off numbers. He'd be a fun trade target at the deadline, in my opinion. He seems like one of those guys where it's like the dynasty starts after you, in my opinion. With Wemby and Sohan needing new contracts pretty soon, I would think Keldon Johnson might get shipped next year for, I think he'd be a rental, or maybe he has another year left after that, but I would assume Keldon Johnson will move sooner than later. He comes off the bench and he's making over $15 million. You know what I mean? It's just, when you have guys that need to get paid like Wemby and like Sohan, I don't know where Keldon Johnson fits. For the Pelicans, it's Dejounte Murray. They didn't pay him this deal. I believe the Atlanta Hawks did, but they decided to take on this deal and give up Dyson Daniels. What the hell was that about? Dejounte Murray struggled to stay healthy this season, like the rest of the damn roster. But even when he was healthy, he shot 39% from the field, 30 from three, and 82 from the line. He usually kills it in the mid-range. Usually he makes his money in the mid-range, but he shot 38% this year in the mid-range, which puts him in the 23rd percentile. Really bad season from a talented player, I'll say. Dejounte is not a bad basketball player, but just injury-prone season. The injury label just gets stuck with you as soon as you join the Pelicans, I swear to God. But this is just a really bad deal. Over $38 million for nothing, really, because he only played, I had to go make sure my number was right. Yep, he played 31 games this year. 32 minutes per game, 17.5 points, 7.5 assists. It's not bad, but DeJounte definitely isn't, I wouldn't say he's not deserving of it, because there has been times where DeJounte's looked like an all-star. But overall, I don't think over $30 million is really the necessary measures for Dejounte Murray. And for the West, certainly least, again, it's the Utah Jazz. It's Lauri Markkanen. Lowry is coming off of the worst year of his Utah tenure, at least, and he's going to be making $46 million next season. That is only $4 million less than what Kawhi Leonard is going to be making next year. Lauri Markkanen is a power forward, and let's compare him to contracts of other guys who play the 4. Okay, he's making more money than Evan Mobley. I would take Evan Mobley over Lauri Markkanen. He's making more money than Pascal Siakam. I would take Pascal Siakam over Lauri Markkanen. He's making more than Sabonis. I would take Domantas Sabonis over Lauri Markkanen. He's getting paid more than Franz Wagner next season. I would take Franz Wagner over Lauri Markkanen. Here's a fun stat about Lauri Markkanen as well. He has never played 70 games in a season. Not once in his career. His high is 67 or 68 games. It's not enough for me. Lowry took a career high in terms of threes per game, but he also shot his second lowest percentage in a season in his career. His splits were 42 from the field, 34.5 from 3, and 87 from the line. Not great. It's a really bad deal for Utah, and it's only year 1. Quite incredible. Danny Ainge brought his son over recently, I saw. That's fun. People only complain about nepotism when it's LeBron James, I see. Regardless, Lauri Markkanen struggled last year. Doesn't look like he's getting any better anytime soon. They want him to take more threes, which I don't know how I agree or feel about that. I don't think I agree with it. But either way, it was an abysmal season for Lowry, and I think it's one for him to forget. Let's see if he can piece together another All-Star season this upcoming year with them. He knows he's going to be there. You know what I mean? I don't know what more he can do. Maybe take less threes is a good idea. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you did, you might as well subscribe. Why not? Like, sub, just said it. Tune in for my finals prediction on Thursday. This video is going to be coming out after that, so I don't even know why I'm plugging this. Either way, I'm going to go catch a game. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining.